What's up guys, Reese here from reese3d.com. So in this video I'm going to show you how to build this door for the house that we already created before. So this is the house that we created in the last tutorial, so if you haven't watched that, I'll put a link in the description. So if you haven't watched it, please go ahead and watch that and you can come back for this tutorial. So in this one we are going to create the door for the house. Okay, so as usual we're going to start with a cube. So let's go to create, polygon primitives, cube. Let's pull it up and I want to make it a bit smaller. Let me go to the side view here and let's make it small from all directions. Okay, I want it to be thinner than the frame that we have for the door. So let's just go here. Preview. Okay, so let's make it thinner and longer. Okay, so this needs to be the outer frame of the door. So let me just check from the front view here. Does not have to touch very much, but I think that's fine. Okay, and maybe it will go a little bit down. So does not have to 100% touch because we want to have a little bit of gap there to have more realistic appearance. And I'm going to select all these edges. Okay, and shift right click to choose bevel edge. And I want to give a fraction of 0.3, okay, and segments of 2. Okay, so even without smooth we will have a nice result here. I'm going to turn off the ambient occlusion there. Yeah. Okay, so as you can see here we've got a little issue here. I'm going to just make this bit more wider. Okay, so if needed we can also make it a bit more thinner. Looks good. Okay, now I want to make a duplicate of that and pull it up for the top of the door. You can again use the front view to make sure that it is in the right place. Perfect. Now I'll make a duplicate of that, rotate it exactly 90 degrees, 90. Oops. Okay, let's check from the front view, bring it somewhat closer. Actually start from the bottom, and I can also just pull this all the way up. Okay, now this has to be pushed a little bit back. Just to show that they are actually two different pieces. Duplicate that to the other side. Looks good. Okay, so now I'm gonna create a piece in the middle, like so. Now we can create the other pieces either horizontally or vertically, so that's up to you. So I'm just going to duplicate this somewhat like so, and maybe for these middle ones we can make it a bit thinner. So once we have one piece we can actually press Ctrl D and then move it slightly outside, and better to avoid gaps. Yes, and then I can go to Shift D and that will just make as many copies as we want. So if you have a little problem in terms of matching up, we can also manually move these guys, and we can adjust slightly to match up the gap that we have. So I'll just keep it here. Maybe one of these wooden pieces we can make it a bit thicker. Now to make it thicker, instead of scaling, I can just go to vertex, select all these vertices and move them. This way we can make sure that the bevel that we did should match up well. I can even just do this for 2-3 objects instead of doing it for just one. So this guy can go a bit closer here. This one can also go closer here, and this one also I'll make it bigger. So let's select all these guys and just push him here. There we go. Cool. Now I think I'll just push these guys outside. I'll make these guys a bit more thicker to cover up more space, like so. Okay. Now what we need to do is we need to create 2 other pieces, so that can be duplicate of these. If it's coming out too much, we can make it a bit smaller. Okay, Control D, I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to rotate it exactly 45 degrees. Now exact 45 degrees might not work out well, but I think that's fine. If not, we'll have to just make some slight adjustments. Okay, so one more duplicate of the same, and this time it's going to be -45, and push it down like so. So that's it. All we need to do now is to create the handle. You can also create a handle by creating a curve and then extruding through that path, but I'm just going to do some simple extrude with the cube. So I'll start with the cube. Let's put him somewhere here. Make it a bit smaller. Okay. Now if you want, you can again extrude just one side and then duplicate to the other side or mirror to the other side, but I'm gonna try to extrude from both the sides at the same time. So I'll go ahead and choose the face. So select that top one, select the bottom one. Okay, so extrude, pull it out like so. Okay, and I'll have to extrude a couple of more, so one more here. Okay, so at this point I want to push it inside, but when I do that, you will notice that it's actually doing the down one in an opposite direction. So just to make sure that, or to unify that movement, we can just click here once. Okay, so what that's going to do is it's going to help us to do exactly that. Now we can go to vertex mode. I'm going to select these 2 guys. We need to match them up. Okay, and I want to push these guys closer to each other, and let's just go ahead and select these 2 faces, so that one and this one. If it's difficult for you to select, you can actually go back to the perspective view and do the extrusion there. Okay, again go back to side view, just push these guys closer. Okay, we have the selection, that's perfectly fine. I'll do one more extrude. This time it goes in. Okay, let me bring this guy out. I think that distance is fine. I will have to do a couple of more extrudes here. So let's select this guy once again, and extrude, shift right click extrude, pull it out, make it bigger, then one more extrude, just take it in like so. I think I can just stretch the whole object. To make it a bit more wider. Select these guys, pull them out. I feel that it's a little thicker here, but it's coming a bit thin here. All I can do is just select these faces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Be careful when making selections. If you're accidentally selecting other faces, that would end up in trouble. Okay, so I think these guys can be scaled up like so. These guys can also be scaled up like so. Let's just go ahead and press 3 and see how that looks. Perfect. Now I just want to add some more detail here. Just double click on these edges to select all that edge loop. I'll hold shift key and double click here to select all these edge loops. I'll continue the same for these edge loops. So we have selected a total of 4 different edge loops. I'm going to press shift right click and choose bevel edge. So let's just make the fraction to be 0.4, segments to be 3. So that's going to make it smooth. Okay, we can just add a couple of more bevels here. So let me select all these guys and shift right click, choose bevel edge, and let's just make the fraction to be 0.2 and maybe segments to be 2. Just 2 segments. Let's press 3 this time and it looks more squarish instead of roundish shape. Okay, so if you need, we can also pull these guys apart by selecting these vertices, actually these ones in the middle, pulling them up. Okay, these guys can go a bit closer there, like so. Press 3. That looks perfect. I think it looks a bit too big for this door. Just make it smaller and fit it where it's supposed to go. If you think the bottom is not that nice, I'll just add a bevel here so that it just goes and stays there. So let's add a bevel with a fraction of some divisions here. Let's just press 3 once again. That looks fine now. Let's just pull this back into its place. There you go. So this completes this tutorial in creating the door for our wooden house.